Hi, my name is Lorraine Watry and welcome to my studio. I am a watercolor artist and I've worked with watercolor for 26 years now, and I thought I would start a new series of videos where I go over different tips, tricks, and techniques for working with watercolor. And hopefully these short videos will help you in your journey, and if you have a question or a technique that you would like to see, please comment below and I will try to accommodate that in a future video. Hi, today's video is going to go over what a liner or a script or a rigger brush is. And basically they are very similar to each other. I don't actually have what would be classified a rigger brush, but I think kind of liners and riggers and scripts are a little bit interchangeable. And the main thing is with these brushes is that they have very long bristles and they're not stiff. They've got some give to them. Same thing with this one. And so I'll talk a little bit about each of these. This is the cheapest one that I have, and I believe it was just from a local craft store. And it is a 3/4 inch Lowell Cornell, and I think it says script. I can't actually tell. I don't see, that may say Sri Lanka on there. I'm not sure. But it has the white bristles, and it does have a very soft, pliable give to the tip of it. And so when I get it wet, it forms a nice, that's probably harder to see. It forms a nice shape that I can use. And then this one is by Silver Black Velvet, and it is a number 6, and it is it says 3007S script on it. And this one I haven't used a lot. I actually haven't used any of these a lot. It really depends on the kind of line that you need or painting that you're doing that you might use these brushes. So these tend to sit in my holder for my brushes, and every now and then I might use one. So this one has a thicker area for the bristles up at the tip, but it does get a nice point. But it is also still very flexible and pliable. The Silver Black Velvet brushes are a blend brush, so they are natural and synthetic bristles, and this is just a synthetic bristle. And then this last one is a brush that is called a Supreme Script, and it is by a company called Scharf. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that. It's SCHARFF, and I had to order this one separately. I don't know if they're available in art stores online now, but it is called a script, and this is a number 4. It says 738 on it, and it is originally from Sri Lanka. So if you look up Scharf, that is how I found this brush, and I can't remember what I was watching or if I was taking a class and someone recommended it a while back. But this one is kind of unusual in that the bristles, it has a very expanded amount of bristles up at the back, and then the longer thin amount of bristles at the front, and it looks kind of ragged until you get it wet. And this, I cannot remember if this is a blend or if this is natural hair. So it gets a very slim point to the tip of it when you've got it wet and it's got moisture in there. So even though it looks very ragged, until you get it wet, it does give you that very nice thin line. Now the reason for this, and actually for both of these, is that bigger area of bristle is that you can fill this up with paint, and then you can work with it longer. So if you're trying to draw a line, say of telephone wires in a landscape, and you need to have the line go across the page for a long time, then being able to basically fill these up with paint and then use them will keep you moving with your line and not having to break it to go get more paint. So I will show you some lines with each of these. The other reason for scripts or liners or riggers is that you can do tree branches with them, anything where you're needing a line. These work really well for that. And so this is the first one I showed you, and I just had some paint sitting on my palette, so I'll go ahead and use it. This is from the last video I did, and this is Fabriano Orange. And yes, sometimes I will tape videos on the same day and then get them out so I can get them out later. All right, so this is the script, and you can hold it down below and use it like this. It does work that way, but I tend to see people when they're using a script brush that they tend to hold it at the end of the brush and let it be a little looser so that you get a little more of an organic line, depending on what you're doing, of course. And so you can see that I can go a long time as long as I lean it over into the paint. And if you can see on my palette that I'm really laying it down to really fill up that brush with the paint. So even a synthetic liner or script brush works well as long as you really get a lot of paint on the bristles. So I'll go ahead and clean that one a little bit. And then the next one was the Silver Black Velvet script. And I'll go ahead and pull a little bit of paint out. This is the quinacridone lilac that I have on my palette, and I wanted just to have the color vary so you can see it a little better. And now that I've loaded it up, so I'm really laying it on its side, kind of rolling it around in the paint, and then I usually will kind of reform the tip by just pressing it onto the palette. And again, you can use it this way depending on the mark you need to make, but I can then also use it up on its tip. And then if I'm making tree branches, I will often use it on the tip because I want that that look of a branch that has some turns and wiggles and things like that on the branch. Now this one, if I continue and just keep going, I can't, as not quite holding it on the page the whole way, I can just keep drawing and drawing and drawing, and I still have paint in there. It's not skipping. And in fact, maybe I'll just go toward the middle now. Now it's starting to get a little lighter, and I don't have as much pigment, but it's okay. So right there you can see it finally was running out of paint, and it started to have that dry brush look to it. So I had quite a bit of paint on there that I could work with, and if I were making something like I said, a telephone wire or something on the painting, then it's going to give me a long time before I would run out of pigment. And then the last brush, I'll go ahead and turn, I have something on the back, so I'll use this. I'll just go with a darker color. So this doesn't work well to get paint out. It's got such a small tip to it that I will go ahead and pull out maybe ultramarine blue. And I want to have enough moisture in the paint that when I roll my brush around in it, it is wet enough that the brush can load up. If it's too dry, the brush won't be able to load up enough pigment. And then I'm just going to really kind of get the back of this brush loaded up well. And then just, again, you can kind of clean it off on your palette. Now this one, because it has those finer bristles, you're not going to get as thick a line. You can kind of lay it over and work with it this way, but then it's going to give you more of that dry brush look. Load it up again so it's a little darker. Oops, tip has got something on it. And then if I were making branches, I can get really fine branches with it, and it will give me probably the look of a tree that's farther back in the landscape, because I can't go as thick as I did with this other brush. But it's nice to have that variety. So all three of these brushes are usable in different situations. In fact, let me grab the other one. This is probably the thinnest line. This would be the medium line. And then this would, not that one. This would be the thicker line. So having a variety of these is really handy and usable, especially if you're doing landscape type of things. All right, so that is basically what a script rigger or liner brush is. And if you are needing something like that, this is a very handy brush to have. Just know that it may, depending on what you're doing, it may not get used a lot. I think after doing, kind of playing with this, probably the silver black velvet brush was the one that had the most space for pigment in the bristles. This one was so-so, and then this one did pretty good as well. So just some variety and some differences between the three, and I hope you'll give it a try if you have a need for a script rigger or liner, and I will see you in the next video. If you have a tip, trick, or watercolor technique that you would like to see, please leave a comment below and I will add it to my list, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.